Good morning, traders and investors. Thank you for tuning in to Pre-Market Prep, your favorite place each trading day to get overnight news, to get breaking news, to get some good trading ideas, whole lot of education, and I bet you'll have a little fun while you're tuned into the show. Today is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Investors with eyes for new highs here as we're starting the holiday shortened week. A couple news items to get on your radar before we hop over to Joel and take a look at what's going on in the markets. Intel, could the company be broken up? A potential deal with Taiwan Semi and Broadcom. We're going to also go over some China talk. We got a couple earnings today and this week, but we do have a symposium over in China going on related to private business. Baba in the love there. Baidu may be getting shunned a little bit over in China by the government. 13F season a little bit here, but investors kind of really only care about Warren Buffett. We'll talk about a new position in Constellation. Pretty quiet earnings, economic data week. Just wanted to put that out there. Housing data on Wednesday, I believe this week. Couple of analyst ratings we're probably going to talk about. Snow was upgraded by Wolf Research, and our guest today at 8:35 a.m. Eastern Time, Michael Hewson. He's editor at MCH Market Insights, former chief analyst at CMC Markets UK. Michael hasn't been on the show in quite some time, but we're going to get him on and see what his economic outlook is here moving into 2025. All right, we're going to jump over to Joel here, but first, let's run that pre-market prep intro.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. And this is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right, good morning, traders and investors. We've been creeping higher since that 6 p.m. open, up 21 and a quarter handle, 61.53 and a quarter, just off that pre-market high. The buck traded up 30 cents at 106.87. TLT down 50 cents at 88.65. Did have a nice 2-day move. USO up 53 cents at 76.35, trying to find a home of support at 76. GLD, wild day on Friday, almost a new all-time high and a big reversal, rebounding today, up $2.51 at 268.80. Silver flirted with 30 Friday, well, trying to get back there again today, up 24 cents, 29.55. And Bitcoin spending a lot of time under 100K and consolidating. This 95K looks like a big support level here in Bitcoin futures. Let's get the stars of the show on the stage. Dennis and Christian, how'd you guys do last week?
Well, how'd we do this weekend is more. Last week's too long ago to remember, but all I did was snow, more snow. We had a 5-day blizzard. Just didn't go away for 5 days. Came, dumped another 2.5 feet of snow on us, which, people are saying, how much snow did you get overnight? How much snow did you get overnight? There's literally like 10 feet on the ground in places. So when I see a foot, I don't even notice a difference anymore. Like we're at the point where the snow banks are way higher than any vehicles. So when you're driving now, you have to put your entire nose into oncoming traffic to be able to see around the snowbank. Like I think people are driving around here more cautiously, knowing that you have to edge out. My nose is literally in the intersection before I can actually see around the snowbanks. It's incredible. Like it's actually, like some people say, it's beautiful, which, sure. But at this point in time, I've never seen this much snow in my life. It's incredible.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it's just accumulating. We're not really getting too many warm days where I am, where it's melting, and so it just keeps on accumulating. And I was away for a couple days, and I come back, and like the snow turns to ice too. So it's an interesting situation going on. It keeps accumulating. I would say for the market, what's very impressive to me is what growth stocks have been doing. If you look at something like, not only the Qs breaking out to new highs, but also look at the QQEW, which is the equally weighted Qs, which is done even better right now. So it kind of just shows you that the strength. I mean, for a while it was about the Mag 7, and we had a guest on a couple of weeks ago that called them the Lag 7, which I like that. That's a funny phrase to me, but I look at what the equally weighted Qs are doing, and those are breaking out to new highs.
Yeah.
And to me, it seems like a lot of animal spirits are going on.
Well, the small cap, Jack, what's his face? Let I always say, I can't remember his. Now I'm getting old and I keep forgetting names. But the small cap rally hasn't occurred. You know who I'm talking about, Tommy Lee. But the small cap rally hasn't occurred. But maybe it's occurring in like the small growth names, Christian. Maybe this Tom Lee IWM rally that he's been calling, maybe he picked the wrong place. Because maybe it's like all those, mid, small cap, and maybe not necessarily small cap, but mid cap, we'll say. Mid cap growth tech stocks. Those are all starting to catch fire. I mean, maybe to start with Snowflake here. I know you have a position in it, Christian. I have a small position in it. It's been consolidating near the highs. It's been moving. We were 120 back in November. We gap up on the good earnings report. Now we've been moving, and maybe we're just waiting. But, the potential to run into earnings for this one is good here too. But you always like seeing consolidation near highs, and eventually you usually get a catalyst. Well, we do have a catalyst here this morning because Wolf is upgrading the stock to outperform. They put a $235 price target on it. That's the catalyst that's got it up 3% this morning. You start getting close to 200, you start thinking about that number, and then you start thinking earnings coming next week. That's a catalyst as well here. But it just, case in point, this is the kind of stock, folks, that has been moving here in the last little while. It's that mid-cap techie growth. So they're not moving away from tech. Maybe it's not Microsoft. Apple's kind of turned around a bit. NVIDIA has, just been stalling, kind of going nowhere overall, although in the last couple of weeks it's went. But, Mag 7 has been lagging. But to your point, Christian, a lot of other mid-cap tech names really moving up.
Yeah, and the thought that, why I established a position in Snowflake last week is, number one, the chart looks like the name has been consolidating a little bit around the highs, and this is a trade that you talk a lot about names kind of running into earnings, and they report. I think it's next week, the 26th. I don't think that's this week. It's kind of weird with another holiday shortened week, but I'm just looking for the name to run into earnings because that's what the theme is going on right now. Is that there's a lot of good earnings last week. AppLovin, Docs, another one like Monday, I think was last Monday, but just kind of following the trend about what the market likes. And it's not every one of these names that are hitting in software, but there's certainly some outsized moves that are happening. That AppLovin move last week was unbelievable.
Unbelievable moves. And again, that fits the bill, so I think we're at a point where, maybe the market is a little bit tired on those big names. They've carried the market, for basically the last 6 or 7 years. And now they're looking for other places to be. So I think, chat, work with us here too. We give you a few names here, obviously, but if you guys got names that you think are consolidating near the highs, and we're talking tech, I think we're getting outside tech. People aren't interested as much. There's not as much story there. We're talking mid-cap tech stocks that are consolidating near the highs. That's what this market is kind of looking into right now. So that's where I'm looking as well.
And first glance on this Snowflake, I'm like, oh man, up nearly $6. Like, where's the setup? Where's the trade? Right? I don't want to chase it. But now I look at it and well, first of all, the weeklies give you nothing. I looked on the monthlies and the weeklies gave you, there's nothing in there. I don't know. This was one heck of a bad month in 24. So you can find some Fibonacci number in between there. But the setup here, I think what traders, investors should take a look at is we settled way off the high on Friday. Friday's high, the high for the week at 193, that was buffeted by a 192.77 high on Thursday, closed near that area. So it's plain and simple. The bulls got to get a nice bid here at 193 at the top of yesterday's range, and then boom, keep this thing moving higher. If there's still persistent 193 sellers there, and they take it down, but a nice setup there. for moving off the upgrade. We'll see. 193. Keep a close eye on that one. See if it stays bid off the open.
And I just want to comment, and again, I was buying this last night. It was upgrade last night. It was trading the 190s, 193 now. It feels like it's a little bit fully priced for today. So what I think, a lot of times what I do is when a stock is upgraded, it's not about buying it up 3% and hoping it's going to go up 6. But sometimes they open and there's a little bit of profit taking, and maybe you get it back at that 190, 191 area, maybe at 10 o'clock where you get a little profit taking. And that's maybe when you strike. Coming in here early, I've sold some at pre-market before we started the show up here because I feel like it's fully priced. I'm going to get a reshot. Those are smaller trades for me. I know Christian's positioned in this, so he's probably not scalping in and out of it. But, I trade the ratings all the time and kind of get a feel for what it's worth. It's up 1%. Well, it feels like it's worth more than that. Up 3%, probably fully valued for that rating. But, you may get a check back too. So just be careful. Again, we are still not in this market where chasing has worked. It has been a contrarian market. So you have to respect that as well. But Snowflake has been a consolidation station, so it sets up well going forward. I just wouldn't chase it up 3%. I'd wait for a check back.
Yeah, I always trim a little bit. If I get some type of positive announcement, where I get lucky like this on an upgrade, I'm always trimming a little bit into it and I did this. I actually established the position on Thursday, and it pulled back, and it pulled back, and I bought, so I had actually already taken one quick target, trimmed a little bit because I know Snowflake is a volatile name, and I had bought some more on Friday at 187. So you're just giving yourself that flexibility too. Even if I'm positioned in it for a swing trade, I'm still taking advantage of the ups and the downs and so forth because I just feel in this market you want to be flexible and you want to be nimble.
All
So
right,
moving on, Joel's here. He says we got to move on. We're talking too long on this. Go, Joel, move us.
You want to get the intel out of the way?
Yeah, I do. So headlines all over this here on the weekend. Christian, you've got in front of you. I don't have it in front of you. If you want to just give the highlight there, it's talking about a breakup. Rumored Taiwan Semiconductor could be in it. Is that pretty much the bulk?
Yeah, it says reports of Broadcom, Taiwan Semi deal plans. They're looking at possibly breaking up the company in two. So we've heard rumors of this previously. There's been, some breadcrumbs in terms of the possibility of this. It seems like a little bit more higher probability now that they've got some facts or a little bit more data points around this. But yeah, that's basically it. That they are kind of looking at it a little bit more closely. I think originally they didn't know how to kind of handle that, but the possibility of breaking in two has the stock moving this morning.
Up another 5%. I'd be careful just, again, chasing stuff on rumors. 25.19. One thing is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Friday.
Because Intel had a good headline on Friday. And, we're going back 4 days ago, so it's hard to remember that. So I don't remember what the headline was. But it opened up, and I was saying I'd probably be taking profits into this, because it's hard to chase it up here. Friday opened, Joel. We opened right at the high tick, and then we dropped $2. So now we come back to that level here again where we've had some resistance. And it's a good headline too. And, it had, traded overseas yesterday, but hasn't traded in U.S. markets until today. I'd say you got major resistance up here at 25. Joel, what do you see on the technicals?
Yeah, I see the way it faded it off Friday, and I'm just looking like this whole 25, 26 area. It traded there for almost the whole month of November, right? People chopping in, chopping out. So let's see. They popped it over Friday's high. They went to 25.25. Boom. They went to 25.19 in the pre-market. So it looks like you have a shorter term trader here just trying to wiggle out at the 25 and a quarter area. Also, it's so okay, so it's Broadcom and it's what's the price? What's the deal? Who's getting
rumors?
What? Yeah, you can't put
rumors
a number
are
on
rumors
it
until they come to fruition. So, and talking against my book, talking against Joel's book, we've had this in our portfolio.
I'm out.
You sold it all now.
Yeah, that's why it's rallied $5.
Well, I'm at a point here now. I'm looking at getting almost half my money back. I think I'm averaging around $32 on this puppy, and obviously got down to 18. And I'm like, maybe just cut bait with this one. Sometimes you're running into range of resistance. Maybe it gets taken over. Maybe it gets split out. Maybe it becomes a Trump stock. It definitely, the sentiment turned towards, in favor of the last few days. but we know how quickly it seems to fade. The sentiments turn before for Intel, lasts a few days, and then people forget about it again and it starts to sell. It's kind of, and it's been in this eternal downtrend here, Christian. I know you're never fans of this. Is this something, though, you look for a turnaround story in Intel, or has this just been such a dog that you just stay away?
Yeah, I haven't done anything with the name. It has made a really nice move. One thing I'm watching is last week's highs, and I think Joel already mentioned this, but I'm watching 25.20. But no, I haven't got involved in it. I've just been kind of watching as it's moved up. You can't be in every one of these things, and if I'm going to take a position in a name in a downtrend, it's usually going to be via options. I just didn't chase this one last week, but it's made a heck of a move, and congrats to holders.
Let's go to China. Baba versus Baidu. You were talking about this, and sometimes when you're away for a few days, like Joel is, you can get a clearer vision of really what's happening here. And I mean, there's been some massive outperformance with Baba versus Baidu. A lot of this, started maybe even with the Apple deal where Baba got the deal, then Baidu didn't, but then Baidu was going to get part of the deal and they tried to rally it back. Well, Baidu actually did report earnings here this morning. They also, as this, meeting, with Chinese leaders here going into the Baidu earnings were actually good once again. I mean, this company just beats all the time. Nobody ever seems to care. 263 versus $1.78 is completely blowing away the numbers. If those are comparable, sometimes you don't get these numbers and they don't compare, but I mean, it looks comparable to me. Also, sales beating 4.67 billion versus 4.56 billion. They're into everything. This is an AI company, but it's just not loved whatsoever. I'm long Baidu, been painfully long. I think I'm back up in it again. I'm averaging around 92, but it just has not done the Baba type move where, I was long Baba, long Baidu, both were at $80. Baba has now moved to $128. Baidu has been left in the dust and completely forgotten here. I'm not sure it's going to turn around this week here either because Breadster's in the background talking on this headline there. There's some meeting and Jack Ma's actually going to be there. So we have a Jack Ma sighting. That's why Baba's really popping up. But apparently Baidu execs are not at this meeting. So looks like Baba's in the in crowd with Xi and Baidu doesn't appear to be in the in crowd.
Wow, what a big move. And Bob, I remember you were looking at that thing at 100 and it had that little consolidation, and now nice move. Now up another 372
So
in the
much,
free
man.
market.
So fast.
Yeah, boy, oh boy. I'll throw the monthly up here, but I mean, if you're super bullish this thing, remember when she got negative on Alibaba back in late 20? I mean,
Well,
he
when we
came
thought
out
Jack
and
Ma was dead.
yeah, I mean, that's
Where
what
is Jack
happened.
Ma? It was like, where's Waldo? Where is Jack Ma? And it went on for like weeks and maybe even months. And finally, there was a Jack Ma sighting. But that was a major issue here. Now Jack Ma seems to be back in the in crowd. So that's good news. Baba just getting good news all over the place here lately. I did sell. I'm trying to look at how much I sold. I don't even remember at this point in time. I think I sold half of my Baba on Friday. Not quite. I sold about 40% of the position on Friday. So at one, where was the price?
It's a hell of a lot better than 100.
Yeah, I didn't sell any at 100. So I'd averaged in around $81. And I sold 124.49, just like a good chunk of the position, not quite half. So I'm still riding, not quite, playing all with the house's money because that's a nice pickup when you pick up 45 points like that. But it's been a huge move. I mean, a little bit too much, too fast. I mean, when your stock goes up 58, 60, 65% in the course of a month and a half, it's probably prudent to ring the register a little bit. Christian, are you still playing this one?
But I'm playing this through KWeb. What I decided to do was just to go long the whole group. I thought the whole group was moving on momentum. I kind of feel a little bit left out because Baba's been such a nice mover.
Crazy
and
mover.
Could have kind of added a ETF and a stock, but this has got the catalyst of finally some good news on it too. So it's been outperforming, but I really like what the whole group is doing. I know the chat is talking about SE2, which is doing really well, and there's a lot of movers that are creeping up in emerging markets, particularly Asia emerging markets. So I'm long KWeb and I'm long the EEM in my longer term portfolio as well, because you've got really nice moves. And what's really particularly interesting to me is that EEM, so that international ETFs are now outperforming the US. Now, this could be a big kind of reversion to the mean, but we really haven't seen EEM and EFA, which is not emerging markets, but international developed. And these things are now outperforming the US year to date. So, really nice to see some participation outside of the US.
Yeah, I've been long this EEM through its Canadian version of it, but same thing. It's just basically follows the emerging markets. I'm long an emerging markets ETF in Canada just because I'm Canadian, and it's easier in my registered retirement account to just hold the Canadian ETFs. But same thing. It's EM tracks perfectly. It's been like a painful trade. I've been in the emerging markets here, for the better part of like 5-6 years, and they've really gone nowhere. Again, it's tough to say, is this different this time? That's the question. We know the EEM has held up well. China's done bad, but, the Japan ETFs, because you've got, obviously emerging markets isn't just China. You got all these other markets in it too. And some of the other markets have done really well. China's now picking up the slack. But the funny thing, I look at the EWJ, and, now it's starting to lag here a little bit here. It's like, they just can't buy them all at the same time. So EEM has just, been an underperformer for a long time. Is this its moment? Maybe. But again, I've thought it's its moment for a long time. I stay long. It's good to be, diversified, not just in U.S. markets, but in other markets as well. It's a good way to do it, but just has been an underperformer for a very long time. Look at that bottom right chart. I mean, we've gone nowhere for a decade on EEM. Maybe it's different this time. I don't know.
I'm trying to find a question here, and it was a good one. It was talking just about consolidation versus dead money, right? And I think to me, and they were asking about the difference, and I think it just depends on the trend, right? Like something like Snowflake, you do have a period where it's traded 180 to 190. It's been in a a strong consolidation mode, right? And that and boom, today it appears it's breaking out of the consolidation mode. Stocks that are on their way down. I mean, I know it's on its way back up right now. Maybe like right here, like when SMCI was coming down here, right? There was consolidation, big moves down, big move up, consolidation. So I really think it depends on what the overall trend is. You guys want to weigh on that at all?
Well, let's weigh it on SMCI because it's been an unbelievable mover. Well, obviously
Okay.
they had their earnings report, and we're still waiting on that missing filing that is supposed to come, I believe, by February 28th. They said they're going to get it. The internal auditor said nothing's going to get changed, so they said it's good too. We still have not heard from BDO though, so that is just one concern if you're chasing this move. I mean, if BDO comes out and says something is wrong, the stock gets cut in half. Not joking. The stock gets cut in half that day. If BDO says green light go and everything is clear, it probably rallies another 25-30%. So I don't know if BDO is ever going to say anything. I don't think they've said anything over the weekend unless I missed it. But we've only heard from their internal auditor so far. But the internal auditor says everything is good. The market is saying green light go. The stock has been an unbelievable. It's doubled. The stock has doubled in the month of February. We're only 18 days in. That's incredible, folks. So it's been an incredible run here. It feels a little bit overextended at this point in time. Like, I think if you're coming in this now, I've got to say, especially with not hearing from BDO yet, it's definitely chasing at this point in time. So if you're not in at this point in time, I'd probably just say I missed it.
Wow, if you had a target at this $50 area, which is where it peaked in October, well, yep, here you are, trading right at the highs of the pre-market session. Let's just hold 50. 50 between 50 and 60 is just wide open. Your next daily high, 55.70. But let's see if you can hold. Let's see if you could hold 50 like off the open, even on the monthlies. That's giving you some resistance there at 50.61. So, actually, who was it? A week ago Friday, Tony was talking about this one. Tony Pollock. And he said, I think it has some room up to 50. Well, If you follow that trade, boom, there it is, trading at 51.28.
We got 13F filings came out on Friday. The one that matters the most, always, since I've been trading markets 25 years ago, is obviously Berkshire Hathaway and Buffett. And the moves here are just incredible for some of these stocks. So he took a new stake, Buffett took a new stake in Constellation Brands. Constellation Brands needed a vote of confidence. This is a stock that has been going straight down here for the better part of 6 months. It was $260 back in October. It is now 162 closed out on Friday. So you're getting an 11-point pop because Warren Buffett took a new position here. So Warren Buffett has said, this stock has gotten cheap enough. I'm getting in here. It's got a 2.32% dividend. I didn't look at the multiples because we know Warren is all about value. He's not sitting here chasing stocks. He's a contrarian investor all the way. He doesn't chase. He's always looking, at growth at a reasonable price if there even is growth, or he sometimes just looks flat out value. Yeah, the forward PE on this puppy is 10. So, the stock is dirt cheap. Warren has said cheap enough. I'm just not sure if that forward PE is correct, though, at 10. That seems like low to me. I thought it would be closer to 20. So I may need to verify that. But anyways, he's saying it's cheap enough. So he's in here. Christian Fromhertz, I want to get you to opine here. One, maybe on 13Fs altogether, but two, Warren Buffett taking a position in ST Zebra at the bottoms. He's kind of the opposite to you. You're a momentum trader, and he is definitely not a momentum investor. He kind of looks when the stocks are in the gutter. He always says buy when others are fearful, sell when others are greedy. You make your living kind of doing the opposite of that, Christian. So I just want your thoughts, as he jumps in on stock like ST Zebra. Do you chase do you come in these, when you see Buffett coming in, does that make you more confident, or is something you avoid? Thoughts, Christian?
Well, so first of all, the 13Fs, they are kind of stale data. Like, we don't know when he got into this. Like, he could have gotten in actually before the drop, because this is old. This is not like, hey, he just took a stake in this, like a day or two ago. All these 13Fs, this is fourth quarter data. So you kind of have to keep this with a grain of salt, that a lot of this data, like not Buffett in particular, because he's not that fast of a trader, but some of these other 13F filings, some of these guys, they could already be out of the position by now, depending on what their holding is. But no, I always pay attention to what Buffett's buying. It's been tough. I think, there's Oxy was mentioned in the chat. How many times has he gone into that one? And, it's been a little bit disappointing. And I am I do have Berkshire Hathaway in my long-term portfolio, because I think he does the right things. Do I have the same? So this is very important, by the way. He's got a different time. He's got a different time frame than I have. So, and everybody has different time frames when you're picking trades, investments. We all have different time frames. So Warren Buffett's time frame is not the same as mine. Do I like holding his portfolio and what he does? Sure. I'll take a position in understanding and believing in what he does. But am I going to go into a name that he just bought? No, because I don't have the same time frame. That's not my trading, and that's not my game to hold for years. So I think that's very important. Number one, that the information is delayed. Number two, you have to have the same time frame to match with what, in order to get a trade like that to work. Do I think it's interesting when he takes a position? Absolutely.
Also consider, if you're just an investor in Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, and we're just talking about investing in Berk, I'm going to stay away from ST Zebra for once, because I think Christian's making a good point. He's been buying Oxy relentlessly. That has not been good. He's been buying Sirius XM relentlessly. That has not been a great one. It's come back recently, but it's not been a great one for him either. So it's not like Buffett has just been kicking ass and taking names. He actually hasn't done that great. A lot of Warren Buffett's Berkshire's outperformance here has simply been that premium expansion, where NAV versus, what the price, he's always traded, it's Warren Buffett, so Berkshire's always traded to a premium to its net asset value. It's difficult to calculate the NAV perfectly with Berkshire because there's so many private companies in there. So you can never do it perfectly. You're always kind of just ballparking it. You can get an estimate, for what some of these private companies are worth, like Geico and, all the other ones he's got. But he has so many private companies that you can never do it perfectly. In some cases where you have, funds that own all public companies, you can get a perfect, what are you trading at a premium? People estimate it somewhere at around 1.4 to 1.5. So you're literally trading like a 50% premium. My concern, why I'm not invested in Berkshire Hathaway, and I have been invested before, is, it's a crappy thing to say, but he's old, man. I mean, he's old. If Buffett dies, it's a big if, but he is, how old is he now? 96? I don't know how much premium instantly zaps out of that. That's my concern about being invested, because, the average life expectancy of a 95 or 96-year-old is a couple of years. It's not like 5 or 10 years. So, he's really healthy. We hope he lives forever. I love Warren Buffett. He's awesome. One of the first books I read was The Warren Buffett Way. But I just don't know, that's the risk. We've argued this before too, though, with Steve Jobs when he was sick, Joel, and we thought Apple would really fall after Steve Jobs died, and that didn't happen. So maybe Berkshire does keep that, a lot of that premium. Maybe, if something happens to Warren, it doesn't get zapped out. But, that's always the concern for me. Even when I'm like trading it, it's like always, like you just don't want him to even get sick. So he's been unbelievably healthy. All that Coke has kept him healthy. Hopefully he lives forever. But that's one consideration if you're just, buying, Berkshire Hathaway near highs when a lot of his companies haven't done that great.
I think he's been listening to pre-market prep because he also hopped into the pool. And there you go. I think he's been in that. That's up 371. There's a long consolidation period here. Looks like it's breaking
and
out
that's
the
on a
top
new
of,
position that might,
right.
That's something he's been in, but that hasn't been great either. He's had a lot of dogs lately. He hasn't been hot. So, that's, again, a lot of this Berkshire Hathaway is a lot of his core holdings. One thing probably are financials. He owns a lot of financial companies, and the XLF has been very hot. So there's definitely a reason, and we know it's a big part. I'm just trying to, fill in, viewers here. Berkshire Hathaway is a financial company. It moves with the XLF as well. And again, it's like 13% of the XLF, so it's going to move that. You see the XLF breaking out, making new highs. We know banks, some of them have done really good. Financials have done really good. So a lot of his other core holdings are doing really well. American Express has been unbelievable, one of his core holdings. So, I mean, some of his stocks done really well, but some of his newer buys, Christian, some of his newer buys have not been that great. So now some of his newer picks. So I think it's hard to just say that, yep, Constellation, he's buying that's going to go straight up now. Not necessarily.
Also, Apple. Apple, that's big part of his portfolio, big part of his performance. I know he lightened up on some, but between Apple and AXP, I believe those are its two top holdings, and they just been chugging along. So Bank America too is also trading at multi the highest levels it's been at since 2022. So excellent point there, Dennis, on it being tied to the financials. And just think if he would have kept that TSM. Remember when he loaded the boat in that thing?
Did he? He was in Taiwan, eh?
Oh yeah. I think that it was sometime in 23. It wasn't even in 24. I think it was under $100 when he did that. I think it was back here. You can look it up, and it had a little pop, and then I don't know if he got worried about what was going on with China, but that would have been one heck of a buy here. 8:33 here. I do see our esteemed guest in the background. Do we want to go to him, or
Sure.
want to try and sneak one more stock in here?
We'll go to Michael.
Let's go to the guest. Let me run the intro. Here we go.
Michael
Hewson.
Hey, good morning, guys. Long time no speak.
I haven't been able to say coming in from across the pond.
Indeed. Well, I've only just come back from across the pond because for the last 3 weeks I've been in the Western United States. So California, Arizona, and Nevada. So,
Michael,
really?
I want to start away from the economy, though, and I would just jump in here because I got one question. I'm going to let Joel run with it here a bit. And it's a question on what is the sentiment towards Elon Musk across the pond? Because in Canada absolutely hates Elon Musk right now. Like, they are like hating Elon Musk. They're talking about even putting, tariffs on Teslas coming in. I have friends that sold their Teslas. I mean, he is hated over here. Obviously, because his 51st state talk, and Trump has definitely went downhill with his Canadian support as well. But, I'm, in Canada, so I see that hate. Is that hate, elsewhere? Like we know in the U.S. it's split. The Dems, obviously aren't Trump Musk fans, but the Republicans are huge Trump Musk fans. What is the taste of Elon Musk over there? People talk about Trump. Do they talk about Musk? What's the taste over there? It's obviously just your viewpoint here, but what are you feeling out there?
I mean, as I say, it's anecdotal, but yeah, he polarizes opinion, given obviously the fact that he's allied himself with Trump. But I'm old enough to remember when, Musk was a Democrat. So, it sort of rather begs the question, what's caused this significant shift in his political outlook? But you've got a number of Tesla owners who are essentially saying that they're selling their Teslas because they don't want to be associated with Elon Musk. So I think there could be an element that potentially could affect Tesla sales here in the UK. But overall, I don't think the attitude towards Musk here in the UK is any different to what it is there in Canada or the US. Ultimately, he splits opinion depending on your political leanings. To my mind, as a financial services professional, I have a lot of admiration for him in terms of the number of companies he's created over the years, the amount of shareholder value he's delivered to, through his various companies. Politically, I'm torn because I think sometimes it's good to shake up the status quo. The status quo has certainly, I think, been very, very stale recently. A lot of populism. We had it here in the UK with Brexit, where the political elites, so to speak, tried to overturn the result, ignore the result, gaslit the population into thinking, well, actually, that's not what you were voting for, so on and so forth. So I think sometimes a little bit of sunshine is the best antiseptic when it comes to our political overlords. And I think if Musk helps to do that, then more power to him.
I kind of like the government shakeup too, and I like all that. It's like, I'm torn as well, and I admire Elon Musk's accomplishments, and I've been a rah Tesla bull because I'm like, but right now I'm just so scared that he's, cut off so much of his customer base that it's going to start showing up in the numbers. And this is what my concern is as a shareholder. I have lightened up my Tesla position substantially just because of that. So, I'm not trying to make it a political show, but I think
you're right to do so. I think you're right to do so. I think given how polarizing he is, he's going to upset an awful lot of people. One of the things I took away from my time in California was how many Tesla cars there were on the road and how many Tesla owners. Obviously it's a blue county or a blue state, and an awful lot of the people I met weren't particularly great Musk fans now, and they were before, and that could potentially impact sales going forward. But Musk is already under pressure, or Tesla is already under pressure because of shrinking margins anyway. So, I'm not really sure that really is going to make that much of a difference in the long term.
They could miss the numbers and stock might not go down anyways.
Yeah.
So.
Michael, we haven't had you on in a long time, and I believe last time we had the rising inflation, which has subsided but hasn't gone away. I think you were talking about your electricity bill and the fast market that was in. I'd like to get an indicator on that to see if it's slowed down a little bit. But in a broader sense, we're very U.S. centric here on this show. We focus on the U.S. markets, of course, have to pay attention to what's going on overseas here. But just talk about, the UK economy, the U.S. economy, interest rates, kind of, are we going the same direction, opposite directions? Give us your take on that.
Well, I certainly think in terms of the economy, it's chalk and cheese. One of the things I noticed when I was in the US was how sort of buoyant and upbeat I think an awful lot of people were about the economy. As I say, I stayed in Mission Viejo, which is in Orange County, LA, and an awful lot of the people, that I was seeing around there, a lot of the shopping centres, the restaurants, and what have you, they were full. Well, not full, but they were certainly, reasonably well populated. Went to Las Vegas. Less said about that, the better. Price gouging capital of the Western United States. The hotel rooms may be cheap, but certainly the coffees aren't. $15 for a coffee. You're having a laugh. We decided to go to Denny's instead, where the coffee is much better.
Great name.
And Arizona, great state. Love Arizona. Went to Sedona, and again, the shops were full. So, you can tell, I think, from just the general demeanor of people in the US, that the economy, it's ticking along nicely. Yes, it's not going gangbusters, but the jobs numbers are fairly decent. And obviously January retail sales notwithstanding, the economy seems to be in fairly decent shape. And I think it's incumbent upon us as analysts not to read too much into one set of retail sales numbers. If memory serves me correctly, January retail sales last year were also negative. And I think that was largely as a consequence of the cold weather, which a lot of the United States had this time last year as well. So, but it's chalk and cheese. You look at the UK economy, it's stagnated for the last 6 months, and it doesn't look as if it's going to get any better, which suggests to me that we'll probably see more rate cuts from the Bank of England than we will from the Federal Reserve. Now, the big question then becomes, what does that mean for the exchange rate? What does that mean for, sort of consumer price inflation going forward? And I think we did see a rate cut from the Bank of England at the end of last month. We didn't see one from the Federal Reserve. Rates are exactly the same. The inflation picture is broadly similar. Inflation here is sticky. We had wages data this morning, which came in at 6%. 5.96% without bonuses. A large part of that is due to recent changes in the UK budget in October, which increased the minimum wage, but also increased national insurance costs on businesses and broader taxes as well, which is likely to cause them to put their prices up. So the outlook for inflation, Bank of England suggests that we might not see the 2% target much before 2028. So that means that maybe we'll see 2 or 3 rate cuts this year at best. I'm really struggling to see how they can justify it, though.
I've got a question coming in here in the chat, and this question is to Michael, and it says, why is the UK so anti-crypto?
Is it, though? I mean, I don't think the UK Labour government has really had much to say about crypto. I own a little bit of Bitcoin. I own a little bit of Ethereum. I've got no intention of getting rid of it. I'm just sitting on it. It's making me, it's very nicely in the black. I bought it in 2018. I don't think they're looking to ban it or anything like that. So, I'm not really sure where that perception comes from. Yes, there's regulation around it, like there is pretty much everything finance related. But I don't think the government per se is anti-crypto unless something has come out in the 3 weeks that I've been away that I'm not aware of.
It might just be like US, obviously, with Trump being in there, is so pro-crypto that everybody else, every other country seems anti-crypto in comparison. So it might just be a relative.
Well, I mean, I guess when you got Trump going on about the fact that he wants to create a crypto treasury,
yes,
and no one else is in any rush to do so. And to my mind, I think the biggest problem I have with crypto is that sometimes you've got these financial services companies pushing it on leverage, and I think that's highly questionable. I don't think that you should be pushing anything as volatile as crypto to punters on leverage. I mean, owning crypto just by itself is risky enough without the risk of basically encouraging people to buy and sell it on leverage.
We could go into a whole crypto discussion, but I mean, you need a settlement procedure. I mean,
Sure.
like if I'm going to pay you tomorrow in Bitcoin, all right, the closing. I mean, it could drop 2 or 3%, right? Or it could go up or 2 or 3%. I mean, I think until they figure that out, it's going to be a while. But
that's a spread on volatile days, Joel.
Yeah. Oh, that's the spread of volatile days. Let's go a little stock specific here, and also bring in activists, right? And activists, man, BP. It is getting some love here. Got the nice bump here, 32 to 34, and then above, I believe it's Elliott getting down and dirty over there. Talk about this stock. Talk about oil. Talk about your take on activists.
Well, to my mind, I welcome Elliott's involvement because I've been frustrated by the performance of BP because ultimately I think it's been a badly run business pretty much for the last 5 or 10 years. Bernard Looney's the previous CEO, Bernard Looney, was talking about performing while transforming. That was his strategy, cutting back oil and gas production and focusing on renewables. Everyone knows renewables, the margins are wafer thin. The renewables business within BP does not make any money. And if you compare the share price performance of BP relative to ExxonMobil, Chevron and Shell, who I think about 18 months ago when new CEO Wael Sawan took over, scrapped. They didn't scrap the energy, the renewables focus, but they shifted much more to the areas of the business that are making money, that are generating returns. And ultimately, no one questions that, we need to try and move towards renewables. The way BP was doing it was to the exclusion of their core business. And that was a mistake. And the new CEO, Mario Akinlos, or whatever you want to call him, has been very slow in taking the lessons from Shell's awakening, if you like, and realization that they need to essentially deliver shareholder value, but also basically keep margins where they should be. Elliott's basically decided to get involved and try and shake things up, and more power to him. I hope he does, because when you look at the BP share price performance, it's been abysmal, utterly abysmal. And the reason it's been utterly abysmal is no better illustrated in the fact that at the end of Q4, they actually posted a loss, when you calculate the profits attributable to shareholders. And the reason for that is profits in the gas generation business dropped from 14 billion in 2023 to around about 2 billion in 2024. And that tells you all you need to know about how badly BP's been run.
One final question. I guess you didn't get invited to the meeting with Trump and Putin. I guess you and Zelensky were left out on that. I mean, come on.
Well, Europe hasn't been invited either. They're at the kiddies table. They're at the kiddies table. They're not being invited either. I mean, to my mind, I mean, I don't know what Trump's thinking here. I mean, you can't have peace talks when the country is being invaded has not been invited. That just makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
Great point.
Because ultimately, they're the ones who are going to have to abide by any consensus that these two leaders arrive at. So I'm struggling to understand what Trump's angle is here. If you want to win friends and influence people, you don't exclude the very country that's being invaded. I mean, how would Trump like it if Putin invaded Alaska?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, that's great points.
Yep. All right, Michael, I threw you that political curveball at the end, but we'll be grabbing you again real soon. I know you're back doing MCH Market Insights. Always great to have a view from across the pond. That's Michael Hewson joining us here on Pre-Market Prep. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Triple D, Christian.
I just want to, so the market's just kind of hanging out. One concern I have for this open is I'm seeing a lot of sell imbalances here early and they're large. And I was trying to figure out, is there something I'm missing today? But I mean, for instance, AT&T, 593,000 to sell. That's 10 times more than you normally see at this time of day. They're all to the sell side too. And it's not in tech. But it's in the stocks and maybe the defensive, the consumer staples, and TLT is trading down a little bit here today. But Johnson & Johnson, 132,000 to sell. Coca-Cola, 147,000 to sell. Disney, 79,000 to sell. McDonald's, 55,000 to sell. I'm just cherry picking the big ones here. IBM, 53,000 to sell. That stands out like a sore thumb too, because that's a big sell imbalance for that stock. CVS, which had a crazy week last week off their earnings, huge move. It's got 80,000 to sell, so it's got some profit takers in that too. It's trading down 1%. Citigroup, Bank of America, both 112,000 to sell, 111,000 to sell. The reason this stands out is because we're up substantially this morning. So when I'm seeing all these sell imbalances here, and it is, in some, defensive names, but it's also in obviously banks, and some of these stocks are actually trading higher here this morning. It's a red flag for me that I don't know if I want to chase the SPY open here right now. I don't know why I'm seeing those sell imbalances. They could change. Again, we've talked about this information before. It's a moving target as more orders come in. These are opening sell imbalances, orders that are geared for the open. But right now, I'm seeing some people who want to sell the open. And that's a concern, with the stock market trading up 25 handles.
I think too, like the way that this market has been going too, when futures are up a little bit, they seem to kind of bring in a little bit of profit taking for the first hour, first half hour, and then things kind of settle in a little bit, and then they kind of rebuild. Just a little bit of a pattern that I've noticed when futures are up a little bit, especially it's the weekend. So that kind of makes sense. That's a great observation, Dennis, and also like really interesting that it's outside of tech, because tech seems to be pretty looking pretty solid going into the open. But if you've got FOMO a little bit, that might be a nice little strategy. Let's see if we get a little bit of profit taking in the first 15 minutes, and then you might see this market regroup a little bit. I have one stock that I want to go over if I could bring up something new, because it is and I say this with a little bit of a disclaimer because it is a small cap name, but I'm really liking what's going on in this grab chart. If you look at the 1 hour chart,
oh gosh, they're all talking about that one today.
Yeah, I mean it's hot because it's the theme right now that's been kind of sizzling right now. We talked a little bit about BABA and SE and what's going on in Asia securities, which are, again, all these charts are turning up. This one, again, it's a small one. It's going to report earnings, I believe, this week. But there's been just something like I try to pay attention to is like if there's a lot of option activity or, a pickup in option activity, and there has been. This company, if you're not familiar with it, I'm just going to go on a quick 10-second tangent here. They're involved in a lot of like services. They do ride hailing, they do delivery, so they've got a little bit of everything over there. And again, I'm just bringing it up because the name
Singapore, right?
Yeah, I mean, and again, looking at what SE has done, like this market is thirsting for things like this right now. And that's what's really kind of moving a little bit. So it is a big pre-market mover. Again, I don't trade a lot of $5 stocks, but I did position in this one a little bit. Again, it's almost like a call option because it's $5. But in any event, it's one that I did take a little bit of a profit target this morning in it because it's up quite decently. But I'm also going to try to sit long a little bit into earnings as well, which is again a risky endeavor.
So you were buying this last week?
I started buying it last week too. There was just an enormous amount of option activity that I was like, hey, I think something's going on in the name. And, it could be, I don't know if it's because it reports earnings or just because these types of small growth companies, as we discussed in the beginning of the broadcast, are pretty hot.
It sets up like, you're just looking at the chart here and, you've been in consolidation station just around 5. Now you get the breakout today, and I'm not following the story closely, so I don't know what the news was here today that's propping it up 12%. But I know in my X feed, which I guess I'll start calling X, I've always called it Twitter, but my Twitter feed or X feed, there's a lot of people talking about this stock. So, I mean, on pullbacks here, maybe it's an idea to try to like grab because these things get hot and they can go for a while. So, it's always like, what's the next, one that's going to go? So I won't argue with you here, Christian, taking a position in this one, and like you said, when you're buying $5 stocks, it's speculative. I usually, trade them pretty small because, they're big moves. You get 12% up, you can get a 12% down move too. So big, moves here. So it's big risk, big reward though, potential. So I kind of like the setup, but I think I'd probably wait for a little bit of a, pullback, maybe not going to go all the way back to 5, but maybe check back in at 530 this morning, take a shot. Might be a good trade.
It's liquid.
So liquid. 7.8 million shares already. Very liquid.
Yeah, it trades like water. I know that they do have earnings, getting a pre-earnings run on big volume, 7.8 million trading in the pre-market high. 5 was trading right at the pre-market high of 552. Let me get the pre-market chart. This is it on the Reddit boards yet? This is one.
It's
yeah.
all
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Social media. This is social media, darling. Here, if it wasn't before, it is after today.
Okay. Yeah, it will probably go off. I would have shorted, and if I had a target at some specific target in here, whole number, half number, whatever, take it because you can sell it on the way up and they'll lift your offers. But if they come out with bad earnings, they will absolutely annihilate this stock. So There it is, trading up nicely here in the pre-market. Just wanted to go back, Dennis. You mentioned about all the, the sell imbalances in an up market.
Sure.
Was looking after being out for a couple days. Was looking at the charts over the weekend. The ranges have really come down here. We're just bumping up, and this is for the S&P. I mean, you can look at your other indexes. We're just bumping up against these all-time highs, and we're not backing down. There's sellers out there, but I mean, look at the monthly. We're coming up to the 6160, 61 area. You look at it, the S&Ps, you look at the spider's right there because it doesn't have the rolling front month contract. I mean, we're just, we broke out above last week's high pretty bit easily, and it's just like you have sellers out there. It's just because it's hitting their target. It's not like, oh, the world's coming to an end. It's just they're selling into strength, and that's what you've seen the last couple of days. And the buyers have really stepped up like every day, and we've had a series of higher lows. So coming into some major resistance, you can look at that as an area to take profits, or you could just say, hey, I'm just going to be patient. We're consolidating near all-time highs. We 6,200 just around the corner. So that's looking at overhead resistance in the markets.
Ticker time, 5 minutes. Give us your tickers here. We're going to jump in, do a little bit of ticker time here, throw them at us. Yeah, so first ticker that comes in here right now, because I just said it, and obviously there's this 10-second delay here for us. So NBIS was the first one that came in. I don't know this stock at all, so this is going to be a tough one. Joel, I'll throw it to you. It's trading up 4% here today. Nebius.
And Nancy Boy, India.
You got it. It's on there.
Okay.
It was the first one that came in.
Okay. And of course, you've never traded it. You've never heard of it. So
I've never even heard of this company. Christian, you
traded
this before?
Okay. This is all you need to know. It came up. I'm looking at news, and and I see news on them are trading higher after NVIDIA disclosed in its 13F filing that the company is consisting of 1.2 million shares.
NVIDIA stake.
That's
okay.
big.
So that puts them on the board. This is not a U.S. stock, though, either.
47.68. That's the only number I have for you.
This is not a U.S. stock, I don't think. So keep that in mind, too. I don't know where. I'm just learning about this company here right now. I believe this is trading actively overseas. So obviously, some of the big moves already happened if it's not a U.S. stock. So I think the stock headquarters.
This has been it's in Amsterdam. This has been a hot company. Yeah, this has been a hot name. It's it's another one that's on social media a lot. People are you could put it in the momentum category. Yeah, and there's been a couple people. I think who's the short seller? I think he was sorry, that's not very specific. But a guy who does a lot of short selling, if the chat knows it, he actually likes it. He mentioned it a couple weeks back.
Andrew Left?
Yeah, I believe it, right? Chat, please let me know if I'm right with that one. But I believe Andrew Left tweeted about this one, I think about a month ago at this point. Yeah, it was a Russian conglomerate. It was it's the old Yandex. There you go. Chat knows. There.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, is it? It's the old Yandex. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But it's different now. It's a completely, different company. Anyway. So.
NVIDIA didn't buy it at 46.63, so keep that in mind.
Okay, going to Christian here. Oracle. I'm going to throw Christian Oracle. This is a little bit of a curveball because here's a stock that obviously was really popping up when, we had Ellison up there with Trump. Then we had the Trump dump and this thing went all the way down. Now it's been clawing its way back. DeepSeek dump. Sure, whatever it was, the DeepSeek dump. Christian Oracle.
Yeah, I think it's I mean, it's much better looking at the company now versus, when it popped up on that news. It's holding support. I've got support on my charts of 171. I like it. There's no momentum in it currently, so I think you got to be a little bit patient with it. It's not like one of these movers that we're talking about this morning, but I think it's a good quality company. They're in the mix of AI, and I think it's a good place on the chart versus 171. I'm just going to bring up one other stock too. I know we're doing ticker time in the chat,
sure.
But please bring up ACHR. are too.
Moving.
This is another name that people are really looking at. Again, it's one of these little aviation companies. There's some news on it this morning. I believe that the FAA, let me see if I can find the news really quickly. FAA certification to launch pilot training academy. Again, another momentum name. But these, this one has spent some time consolidating. 1033 is the level that I'm watching, and if this breaks above that, it can kind of resume that uptrend, that high momentum that we saw about a month ago.
I'm going to grab the next one for myself, Micron. I'm long Micron, and I bought it like I sold it, sold it fabulously, rebought it, not bad. I think around 93. It ended up going down to 86. Back up here at 102. I think we're at a point here now where you trade Micron and don't own it. And I'm actually intending on selling it here today. It's been a good pop up. So we went 85 to 110, back down to 86. Now we're getting back up into the 100s. Could I hold out for 105, 110? Maybe. But this stock 3 days ago was $87. So it's up 15 points in 4 trading sessions. In a market that is prone to taking profits, it's up 18% in 4 days. I'm going to ring the register here on my Micron. I think today, maybe re-enter, it gets back down to 90. I'm just going to keep, what is that? Channelingstocks.com. Stocks trading a channel. We'll give a shout out to channelingstocks.com. I think that's what Micron is becoming. Any other ones strike your fancies? You guys can grab whatever you want from the chat. There's a lot of tickers in there right now. We got like a minute or two left before we're ending it here. Otherwise,
I would just say gap fill at 102.72, Dennis.
Oh, my Micron.
Yeah.
Would you sell? Okay, stop, Joe. Would you sell your Micron if you just bought it like
I would.
A month ago, 3 weeks ago? I watched it go way up, sold it, rebought, and then it actually dumped on me again. I mean, it's just been chopping around in here. I mean, it's hard to there's so many highs up here, 105.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you want to try and hold out for 105, you're going to have to ride out maybe a few dips.
I don't want to hold out for the last.
You don't want to ride out a few dips? Okay.
What about, I'm throwing this one. It's like ACHR to Christian before he goes, and then we'll let Christian go because we got to go. Rocket Lab, because you talk about ACHR and consolidation station, while RKLB has been in major consolidation station here. Is this consolidation to go higher here eventually? Thoughts?
I'm watching it. I've actually tried to trade this I think twice in the last couple of weeks, and it hasn't worked for me. I kind of lost my patience. I lose my patience very quickly, and especially momentum names. But I think it's something to kind of keep an eye on. And I'm watching it. I'll try. Sometimes I try stocks 2 or 3 times before they get going. But I would watch this group too. Have an alert on the name. I have an alert somewhere. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Just waiting for my charts to adjust. I would watch 2883, and let's see if this name could get going.
Okay. Yeah.
Christian, any final thoughts before we let you go? Final thoughts. Yeah. Final thoughts. I know you got to hop.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Just going back to what we were talking about. The equally weighted NASDAQ is breaking out. This is a momentum market right now. I think that's what the market really likes. And I'm really excited about just watching emerging markets and some of these names that have been so dormant for a while, and people getting excited about some of these emerging market names. To me, that's pretty fresh and unusual.
So I'll just give my final thoughts here.
Okay.
Moving, again, I've seen those sell imbalances. So this is trading thoughts here. A lot of sell imbalances still here this morning. S&P is completely ignoring it. Probably because they're not in tech, and the S&P only seems to care about tech as of late. But IWM still trading up here too. I'd be concerned about the IWM. I do have a little bit of a short position in IWM right now as well. But somewhat concerned because TLT is weak here today. And we know that can lead on IWM more than this other stuff. So I think what I'm probably thinking is you're going to see some separation here eventually. QQQ is up just slightly more than the IWM, but I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes like a QQQ a little up more today than the IWM. So I'm looking for the IWM to leak away its gains here this morning.
All right. For me, just strong market, strong bid. Let's continue through that pre-market high, 57.75, and then after that, looks like you just creep into some of your highs from earlier December. We need another 13 handles for an all-time closing high in the S&P at 69.25. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the week moving along fast here. We'll have Scott DeFitt over from Wedbush Securities. He'll be joining us on pre-market prep, and he'll be talking about equity research in the internet space, e-commerce, online travel. Maybe we can talk about that move in Airbnb on Friday, folks. Glad to be back on this Tuesday. It's a wrap for pre-market prep.